champ is here.
We will definitely not shut up and dribble.
The champ is here. I must be the greatest. The champ is here.
I'm going to continue to stand with the people.
The champ is here.
I will not lose.
All right, man. I shook up the world.
Yes. Welcome. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with we. I got my man MH.
What's going on, man?
Yeah, man, you in the building here, man. We are Black as Sports, giving a voice to the culture that won't shut up and dribble. And today we'll bring you here inside the locker room, talk about the topics in and around the game. MH, ready to do this?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So kind of lead us off what we're talking about tonight, man.
So recently, there was a game between the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA. We could say that is going to be a finals preview. All the stars are involved with those two teams. Obviously, the LeBron James and Anthony Davis and Kevin Durant and James Harden and Kyrie Irving. So it's a stars game. We know that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are currently hurt, and they were hurt during this altercation or during this game. The game ultimately played out on national television, and the Lakers won big, 126-101. But in the third quarter, we are one of our favorite boys on the show. Kyrie Irving was in, I guess you can call it a heated discussion with Dennis Schroder, point guard for the Los Angeles Lakers.
Right.
I was getting the third quarter, and what's interesting about at this time, both Kyrie and Dennis Schroder were really getting it. I think Kyrie had like 19 at the time. Dennis Schroder had maybe 18.
19, something like that, yep.
So on the play, I think Kyrie Irving kind of fouled Dennis Schroder. There were some words exchanged. The referees came and did referee thing to try to break it up. The teammates did the basketball thing to try to, wolf and act tough, and end up being a double technical. And then end up both Kyrie and Dennis Schroder were ejected from the game.
Out of here.
So that was that. Nobody knows what's really said on the court at the time. But
yeah, you just think they just Pippen and John, and that you said, you setting the picture perfectly right now.
Yeah, that's just discussion. So of course we all want to know, like, this is and mind you, this is the first time both Kyrie Irving and Dennis Schroder were ejected from an NBA game. So obviously we want to know, hey, what was said? Why are you getting that emotional? Maybe the refs are overreacting.
Right.
So Kyrie Irving sends a tweet talking about the N-word, how it's a derogatory word. That word should be thrown out of the language. Dennis Schroder, he didn't name Dennis Schroder, but Dennis Schroder doesn't know me like that. And then we get some more, the powers of social media and the powers of the internet. We kind of see some lip reading from Dennis Schroder. And, I think the N-word was shared at the time. And Kyrie took some offense to it. So my question to you, with all that I've said, is give me your thoughts on that situation. The N-word in sports, as we can call it.
The N-word in sports. I don't know if it's just that simple, man. I mean,
okay.
I think there's a lot of layers to that, right? Just the word itself. So much so, I'm gonna give a little tribute.
They say we N-I-double-G-E-R. We are much more. Still, we choose to ignore the obvious.
Nas was going to name his whole album the full term. And he just through personal revelations and all of that stuff, kind of went back and forth and seeing if that was something he really wanted to do. And he changed it, and the album became the N-word, right? And I think, he had those same battles that, I think we have is in sports, right? Our language in sports is definitely not the best. I think it's even on the back of most tickets, like when it says, language and things, will be said. In the confines, especially if you're at a basketball game, right? Because you're closer than you would be at any other sporting event.
Yeah.
How do I feel about the word? Is just really, it's tough, right? Like it it's one of those core things that you be very, very sensitive of, right? Like, and all the things around it. And I think one of the things I saw in the post was the fact that he was like, he shouldn't call me that. Like, he took personal offense because he feels very strongly about that word. So I respect that. Right. So everyone, I feel like I'm really mindful about words, right? Because I'm a person that believes words speak power, right? And I mean, if it's in a biblical sense, the Bible tells us that, right? So watching your tongue, and then even if you get in a bigger esoteric kind of vision of that, the universe doesn't know, if you're joking, if it's meant for endearment. So a negative word is a negative word. So I mean, all of that to say is just confusing, man. We could go back and forth on that, man.
Yeah, I mean, we both play sports, and I would probably be shocked if we've never heard that word in a competitive sense, or amongst our homeboys, or amongst just common language. So I would be lying to say that, hey, I've never used the word, I've never heard the word in those situations.
Correct.
Particularly with Kyrie Irving, I'm just going to talk about the game a little bit, and Dennis Schroder. Obviously Kyrie has taken some personal days and recent this season, and has been very outspoken. Off the George Floyd murder, that was all that we all saw. So I think there's maybe some enlightenment that's going on personally with him, and I'm not saying that he hasn't always felt this way, but I will say in that particular situation, I felt that it was a little more than just the N-word in that situation. To me, I think Dennis Schroder was getting at Kyrie Irving. So I'm just gonna keep it real. And Kyrie Irving probably was feeling some type of way about it anyway. And Dennis Schroder saying that was just a more reason to him to get angry. I don't know if he necessarily wanted to get thrown out of the game.
Okay.
But I think there was a little bit more to it. As far as the word itself, man, it's interesting because I remember a couple of times when I was younger, my parents never used the word, and they don't even like me to use the word.
Okay.
And, there's some historical context to it, obviously. My parents grew up in the South. My grandmother picked cotton herself, right? So there's some deep-rooted, history with the word that me, myself, I would be lying if I necessarily experienced that, right, in my everyday life. Right. So I never heard my parents use it, except for one time my dad was having a discussion. I have a brother that's 10 years older than me, and he was having one of them dad discussions with my brother. And I was 7 at the time.
Point, huh?
And some of that, and that word sprinkled a couple times, and I was like, oh, I mean, I was scared. Not let me cross pops like that ever, right?
So Hayes is using that. It was on.
Yeah. Whoa, that's weird. And that shocked me. And I think in maybe 4th grade, I think a kid said it to me, and I just had never heard it.
Skin tone
directed towards me.
What was skin tone?
Oh, he was black. He was black, right?
Okay.
But I like I said, I ain't never heard it, and so I don't know if he was just like, "Hey, man, you my boy," or you acting kind of funny. Yeah, right. So
I think this.
I never know, and I took it off. I took it like Kyrie. I took it like Kyrie.
So this is the time that we bring in the hard R versus GGA, right?
Sure.
Does that make a difference?
I mean, I don't want to. I don't want to be a hypocrite, man. I don't want to be a hypocrite.
Okay.
So,
in what terms?
I put it this way: if we say it, if you said, Miles, you being
So are we not going to say a word? Are we not saying a word tonight?
Okay, but you know what I'm saying, because I don't want to. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you were to say it to me and some of my other boys, whatever. That's just language. That's how we talk. So I don't think nothing of it.
Right.
Somebody else said it to me, and not even skin tone kind of related. If I just don't really know you like that, it's like, yo, I got a name. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna call me out of my name, right? Okay. So to answer your question, yeah, I think it matters, but should it? Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, I mean, and that's what we get back to, right? Because I think everything's context, right? Like we go through this thing in life, everything is context. And it's how and I'm sure your parents told you it's not what you say, it's how you say it, right?
Right.
And so that's where I think that kind of definitive cross comes, where you start justifying too, right or wrong, but we can justify the heck out of everything, right? And I do think it does matter. And everything you just go through this ebbs and flow, right? Because Negro, right, which was a term that we've been called because we've gone through all these all these journeys through what we've been called, right? And Negro at one time was an acceptable term. So, and now Black is, for most, but people still dance between Black and African American. So you take this term of, the hard R, and we wanted to claim the word and take over the word and attempt to have some empowerment of something that was ugly, right? And then some people said, no, you can't do it because it's such a nasty word. Right. And so I'm toyed with that, because there's a lot of things in life that you take, and there's talking about just let's talk about people with disabilities, right? We were at this little Chef Jeff project this weekend, and it's one of the kids that's going through the program. He has a disability, and he called himself handy capable, right? Because handicap was not it's becoming to be derogatory. So it's a disabled person, but then they took handicap, made it handy capable, and saying that was his superpower. That's exactly how he presented. He's like, I'm handicap capable, and that is my superpower. So, when you go into this context, it's really hard to not justify saying yo, I call that, and it's my term of endearment. And I think we even did the post that kind of from, I think it was Sideline Sources, like the N-word is a derogatory racial slur. It will never be a term of endearment. It'll never be reclaimed, flipped. Never forget its foul, and true history is throw the N-word out of the window. So that's someone's stance.
That was from Kyrie.
That was from Kyrie. That was the I guess they reposted. They didn't quote that it was. Oh, it is definitely Kyrie. I'm sorry. Yeah. That was his tweet that he put out, right?
Right.
But that's his stance after what he's been, like you said, he's taken some time, and he's going to his roots of his American Indian descent. Excuse if that's even the right term. And that's the thing, right? We fumble so much that we can't just speak. Right. And that's why I think it goes back to, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if we're in a space or a place that we can talk, I think there should be room for grace.
Yeah, and from just speaking on that incident between Kyrie and Dennis Schroder, it didn't look like Dennis Schroder was said it in a term that was you know what I mean? You could take it derogatory. He was just like, man, chill out, bro. Yeah. Right. And Kyrie didn't see it that way, man. But I understand, to your point, man, I do understand where you're coming from and where Kyrie's coming from, man. I could just think about going to a Travis Scott concert recently and feeling like an uncle, because I'm like, oh, did I hear this, 13-year-old, white dude say this, right? He's just saying the lyrics, and I don't want to be somebody's uncle giving a kid a whooping in a concert, but I felt some type of way about it. But, I don't know what his conversation is with his friends and stuff, throughout their common language. So I think we've got way loose with the word. Obviously, that's even in the Black community and communities outside the Black community. So maybe it needs to be reined in a lot, and to Kyrie's point, thrown away. Because it was not intended or originated as a word of endearment. But again, I would be a hypocrite to say that if I'm like, hey, you my dude. I mean, there's not a better way to describe it than that for me at this time. But I can go to the thesaurus. You know what I mean? So,
and then you talk about culture, man. like it or love it, hate it or not, man, it's ingrained in our culture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to change things that are, culturally specific. And when you talk about it's in our music, maybe too much, like at your Travis Scott concert, or not so much that it's too much in the music. It's that the people get real comfortable singing N-words in Paris, right? Like going hard when they sing it. And it's like, listen, Sarah and Becky, like I need you not to do that.
Right.
It's a deep, like I said, it's deep. And until it's always going to be to everyone's individual kind of taste and moniker for it, right? I still don't think it should be used. And I attempt to monitor the use of it, especially when it's, talking intimately, like, when we rap and we're like, man, look at this, or whatever we do, right? You have to be thoughtful of it.
For sure. And not every, I guess the word doesn't, all words don't really play to every crowd. For instance, like, a female or a young lady could call her female friend a B word, but if you know what I mean? I couldn't just run around calling people B's, you know what I mean? So
100%. So I got to say about that. Like, so
okay.
my mom, rest in peace, rest in heaven, all that good stuff.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
She called herself the B word. She had a necklace that had that in cursive that of course she never wore when I was little. I didn't know anything about it, whatever. But like she was in her bag. That was her thing. So you remember a rapper named Trina that came out, right?
Yeah.
So she would come around us, and she was like, I was the baddest B before Trina, right? Like, so that's just the element of, that moniker. And the same point was, she's like, now I can call myself that, but I'll smack the taste out your mouth. If you ever fixed your lips, if you thought about it, and your dad too.
Right.
So like it's culture specific, it's relationship specific. And I mean, I was having this conversation with a very good friend. Of course, she was a white lady, and asked me, because she got in trouble saying it because she thought she was safe saying the GGA, but she was telling it in a story, and it caused her some flack.
I'm sure.
Yeah, right. Because like it's just people don't understand that, and I guess this is the part where you talk about why it should go away. Because if I hear it, that thing in the back, you kind of just raise to it, right? Like if I hear,
in what sense?
If I'm not in the conversation and I hear it, and I know I'm in if I know I'm in in the locker room, right? Like or somewhere where I know the demographics of the room. And if I know that there's a mixed different demographic of the room and I hear that, I'm still going to look, So I'm just like, oh, okay. Right. Just checking things out, just because if it's heated or whatever, because like you said, that term could mean so much, it still raises something to it. And my brother uses it, but he uses it with the hard R because he's becoming an angry old black man. And I asked him, I was like, do you know? He's like, yes, I know what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, man. So my brother's becoming an angry black man to like the fullest. Like he just
seriously.
Yes, with age, I guess he's just rocking it, man. So anyway, it still cringes to hear him say it, right? Because I even call him out on it. So I don't know what we do to change it, man. I mean, I'm always solution based. Like, so what's the move forward, right?
I don't know, man, because I'm thinking when you said locker room, and I'm thinking of the locker room right now, and there are so many different, to your point, tones of how you would say it. Ooh, somebody about to get whooped.
Correct.
It's one way.
Yes.
Or it's like, oh, he funny as hell. Like he's stupid. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know what the solution is. And maybe the solution is what Kyrie Irving said. I mean, we're creative people. There's other words of endurement You my brother. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you my guy. Like, maybe those words that we can use more. But it's so difficult, man. Like that is part of, to me. I could just remember. I didn't ever talk that much playing football.
Right.
But if I was serious, like
100%.
If somebody was talking to me, then yeah, he's going to, a couple of those might fly. You know what I mean? So like, I don't know. I don't know the solution, EJ, and that's why I lean on you and your expertise and your brilliance to tell me what the solution should be.
You are setting me up for failure right now.
I'm not at all. I really don't know.
No, at this point, man, until we get the national coalition of black people to get all together and figure out what our agenda is on so many things, right? Like, because we need to go back to HR 40 and get our reparations, but that's a whole nother different conversation. I just think it's going to be set individually and respect. I don't think Kyrie should have went off. Well, no, I can't say that. He went off because it's something that's, he has strong conviction in. So I get that. Sure. And the fact that he explained it, and then hopefully Schroder understands that and just kind of can move on. Or maybe, I don't even know if he did an apology, because you have to respect the other person. So if someone has that vigor for that word, you respect it. Me, for myself, I'm going to continue to be mindful of it. I even remember on the playground when they used to come, when we was out basketball playing, and it was a mixed group of people playing, and we were told we couldn't say that word, because it's like, if that person said that word, y'all all be ready to fight. So no one can say that word. So I think that depending on the set, so if the NBA decides, like, they say, hey, no, that's a derogatory word, so they can tee people up or whatever if they catch anyone saying it. And I think that's what we have to have. Go ahead.
Now, you remember the NFL tried to do that a couple years ago.
I forgot about that.
So it was that, hey, we're going to try to monitor some language.
Right.
And, the officials were instructed, hey, if you hear, that word fly, that's a 15-yard unsportsmanlike penalty. Well, during the first week of the season, they had to, like, ease up on that rule because, you go – it's going to be 3rd and 30 for a whole lot of folks if that's just, you know what I'm saying? That's it's ingrained in the competitive atmosphere, sadly to say.
Not even just the atmosphere, it's just our culture, man. Like, I could turn on any song right now, we will hear that word within for both songs, right? And
correct.
Even when I'm abstaining from that word, if I get around certain people, it starts to slip back up, right? Because if you're back in that circle and I don't know, man. That's gonna be a hard one. So you're right. That's not something they could do. It'll be teased up everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think
everybody be Rasheed Wallace.
Everybody can find out the league, and then I think it'd just be harder because it'd be on one subset of people, right? So then it takes us, and we're getting penalized again for our culture and something that that is bad. So, and we didn't figure out nothing tonight, brother.
We didn't. And as I lose my headset, no, I mean, I think Myers Leonard, former center for the Miami Heat, just got kind of suspended, and now he's a free agent. Lost his job basically over some choice words that he used over kind of a gaming console that was a derogatory slur to the Jewish community. So I would say I think we're, as a society, black, white, any culture, I think we're becoming more sensitive to what words we use and how that affects people around us, which I think that's a good thing. But obviously I think we have ways to go, and not just with the N word, with a lot of different words that, people would call, find offensive. So we just gotta be careful how we speak, to who we speak, and, who's listening.
And I think we just need to have grace with it as well, right? Because we can't have cancel culture, right? Because if I can't say anything, or if I'm so clammed up to say anything, won't get anything out and won't have the opportunity to educate or, just to have that kind of conversation. So definitely need to practice grace with this cancel culture, right?
We do. I mean, maybe that's what Paul George was really striking. He really wanted to. I shouldn't say that. You just.
So that's what Paul George
Could
is
be
looking
stressful.
for. No, I get it, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Anything else for the people?
No, I'm good, man.
All right, man. Well, I guess as always, let us know how you felt about the show. Give us feedback. How are you dealing with the word and in these mixed settings and just do you agree with Kyrie where we just need to ultimately totally get rid of this word and just really work on being the creative, imaginative, amazing people that we are and come up with something different. So let us know, chime in. You have all the social handles with Black in Sports everywhere. You can find us on social. Please support, follow us on YouTube, and just know, stay safe, practice gratitude, and we're rooting for you.
Screaming, all us blacks got is sports and entertainment until we even.
Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Yeah. Yeah. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. Spent about 2 racks on handmade new rags. Assuming I'm rooting for everybody that's black. That's everybody from sports to college class to rap and back.